Okay, so in this lecture I'm going to be talking about the development of the trophoblast and how it helps in the implantation and it also goes on to become the placenta. So far we've created the blastocyst by the pre-embryonic phase and the blastocyst then differentiated into the trophoblast, outer cell mass, and the embryoblast, inner cell mass. In order for implantation into the uterus to occur, the zona pellucida, which remember is the outer layer, even outside of the trophoblast, that needs to degenerate to allow cell-to-cell contact between the trophoblast and the endometrium of the uterine wall. And this allows implantation using the trophoblast. So before we talk about implantation, I'm going to talk about the uterus and the menstrual cycle. So in terms of the uterus, there's actually 3 layers which I learned today in lecture, but there's 2 layers that you need to know about in year 1, I guess. The endometrium, which is the tissue for blastocyst implantation, and there's the myometrium, myo meaning muscle, and it's the muscle for birth. If we have a closer look at the endometrium, you can see that it's got villi to increase surface area, I guess, which has an epithelial layer, and it's also got a rich blood supply, which varies as you go through the menstrual cycle. Now, as you probably know, menstruation is what happens if the egg is not fertilized. So if the egg isn't fertilized and it remains in the fallopian tube or oviduct, then the hormones are stopped. So estrogen and progesterone are stopped and the lining is shed. And this is the start of the menstrual cycle. So when the hormones are stopped and the lining is shed, as the follicle develops, estrogen levels increase. This causes an increase in cell proliferation, which leads to thickening of the endometrium, and the vascular supply increases, forming spiral arteries. At around day 14, the secretory phase occurs, and this is controlled by estrogen and progesterone. Now what this does is it conditions the endometrium to become rich in blood supply and nutrients. Estrogen also causes ovulation of an egg. However, if the egg is fertilized and it forms a blastocyst with a trophoblast and embryoblast, then it will implant into the endometrium and the menstrual cycle won't happen. And the way this works is that the trophoblast layer produces HCG, human chorionic gonadotrophin, which stimulates the corpus luteum of the ovaries to produce estrogen and progesterone, preventing the endometrium lining from being shed. HCG is important clinically because if you detect it in urine, it signals pregnancy.